I'm live. All right. Welcome to GridironStuds Live Weekly. Did my first one last week. We're on for another one again this week. And I'm here to talk about, hey, listen, anything that's going on in the world of football right now. We're getting down to the end of this thing. College football season is over. I talked about the championship game last week. And now this week, we're going to talk about those AFC and NFC championship games and anything else that we can drum up here in the next quick 15 to 20 minutes. All right. So it's the Chiefs and the 49ers in the Super Bowl. I guess that's what everyone expected. Did anyone really, truly believe in the Tennessee Titans? I don't think the officials did either. It's a little bit of some spooky officiating in that game. Who agrees with me? Yeah, you do. All right. That holding call at a crucial part of the game. You can't have holding calls if you're the Tennessee Titans and you run this 3 yards in a cloud dust offense. 1st and 20, 2nd and 15. Doesn't really work for you. And I guess there were enough people that knew that. And so an appropriate penalty here and there, and that was it. I'm not saying anything, inappropriate happened there, but something inappropriate might have happened there. Nevertheless, the Chiefs come from behind once again, second week in a row. I suggest they not do that in the Super Bowl in a couple of weeks against the San Francisco 49ers because it won't be so easy to come back, if at all, against a team like that. San Francisco really looked unstoppable. Everyone's making a big deal out of the fact that Jimmy Garoppolo threw for less than 50. Isn't that what he threw for? I guess I'll have to go look that up. Passing numbers weren't impressive, but they didn't need to be. The ground game was on fire and working, and the Packers had no answer for it. So what do you guys want them to do? You want Jimmy Garoppolo to just go out and throw passes just for the hell of it, to satisfy the wolves out there, the masses in social media that think he needed to put up certain kind of numbers? Put up some decent numbers? Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is not going to the Super Bowl. He's going home. So I don't know what you folks out there wanted to see. Nevertheless, it doesn't matter what you wanted to see. The 49ers are going to the Super Bowl, so we've got all red in this thing. I don't know who's going to be the home team here, but nothing but red in a couple of weeks down here in Miami. And you folks down here locally, wondering if you're ready for that. There is the Super Bowl has returned to the city of Miami. So it's going to be an interesting week. And I'm not just talking about what's going to be happening there on the field. There's going to be plenty of interesting things going on down here in Miami during the Super Bowl, as it always is when you bring the Super Bowl down to Florida, which is loosely a part of the United States. Nevertheless, what else is going on? Richard Sherman and Darrelle Revis. I've been getting a lot of questions about this. Whose side am I on? Is Revis right? Is Richard Sherman right? You know what I think? I think it's nonsense. Two grown men, two future Hall of Famers have decided to go this route and start going at each other and trying to tear each other's down. That's what I think about it. I'm not going to sit here and comment on who do I think is the better cornerback. They're obviously two very good corners, and they're different. I'd love to have both on my team if I was coordinated defense. That's how I look at it. Doesn't matter what either one of them say. The proof is in the pudding. Both of these guys have the numbers. They've both been very, very good at what they do. And I don't see any reason for them to be going at each other's head like that at all. I don't see a reason for it. And I don't understand, first of all, why Darrelle Revis felt the need to go after Richard Sherman. I could say I don't understand the need for Richard Sherman to come back at Darrelle Revis, but that's just how Richard Sherman is built. So we can fully expect anytime that someone is critical of Richard Sherman, he's going to come back. But at the end of the day, if you ask me whose side I'm on, neither. These guys are grown men. You don't see Brady and Breeze doing this. You don't. Hey, for crying out loud, Tom Brady and Peyton Manning can get along. Why can't these two guys? You know what I mean? And for Revis to be out of the game right now, he should be looking back upon guys that are playing right now and be congratulatory. He should be supportive of guys that are still playing the game right now. He should understand just how much time and effort and everything else that goes into playing the game and, being at the top of the game. And he should be happy for someone like Darrelle Revis, who tore his ACL and had to come back from that. He should be very supportive of someone like Richard Sherman, who tore his Achilles tendon, and enough people were out there saying that his career may be over. For that guy to be in that situation, tear his Achilles tendon, leave Seattle, go to a new team, and then he's back in a dance. I think that's outstanding for him. So, I just don't understand why these two grown men are going at each other like that. I'll answer some defensive back questions towards the end here. So if you have some, you want to drop some in. I've had some that I've been asked on my site. By the way, I do run GridironStuds.com and GridironStuds on Instagram, as well as All Eyes DB Camp. So if you're here and you want some defensive back questions answered, I'll answer a few as I get to the end of this, what will be very brief live podcast. As time moves on, and I'm not just shooting from the hip with this thing, and it's a little more planned, they'll get a little longer. But longer doesn't necessarily mean better. I'm just turning this camera on and going for it here. So, but that's my take on Revis and Sherman. I really wish these two guys would. I wish this never would have happened, but I hope it ends soon. And now today, I see Revis and Cromartie going at it. Obviously stemming from something that was said on First Take on ESPN by Antonio Cromartie when he was asked by some guys on the show. I think it was First Take, or it might have been Skip and Shannon. I don't know. I feel like anytime you go on one of those shows and you're a top athlete or a celebrity or something like that, you're pretty much asking for something controversial to come out of it. That's the whole reason why they have you on there. If you see how Skip and Shannon go at each other, you see how Stephen A. and Max go at each other, that show's just built on controversy. They're looking for sound bites. They're looking to stir the pot, so to speak. And so if you're coming on there as a top athlete or celebrity, be ready to be thrown in the whole mix right there. Get ready to be thrown in the blender and to be asked tough questions. And for any kind of little sound bite or quote that you have that might be off the rails a little bit, they're going to take that and run with it. It's going to be cut up. It's going to be spliced. It's going to be put on Twitter and Facebook and everywhere else, Instagram. It's going to be all over the place, and you're just going to have to answer for it. So I get that guys want exposure. I get that you want to be on some of these morning talk shows or these popular talk shows. But, when you go on there and you say stuff and you're freely talking, be expected to be called to the carpet on it. And Revis had something to say, went on Twitter and had a few words back and forth with his former mate on the other side of the field for the New York Jets, Antonio Cromartie. Both men are rather opinionated. Revis more so lately than I thought he ever was. And Antonio Cromartie has never been one to really bite his tongue or hold back on his opinion on things. And so he went on the show and spoke, and he and Revis went back and forth. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, you can go find their Twitter accounts. Don't really know the Twitter handles off the top of my head, but feel free to go to either one of those accounts, and you will get an account of today's events between those two young men. So not only was Revis into it with Sherman, who's on his way to play a Super Bowl, he got into it with his former teammate, one half of the dynamic duo, Antonio Cromartie. So that's what we had going on today. Listen, we've got a couple of weeks out. Early predictions on what you think is going to happen in this Super Bowl. Listen, San Francisco, as I said, looks really, really tough. A great running game. The ability to pass when they want to, even though Jimmy Garoppolo threw for like 9 yards in the game. They have the ability to throw the ball when they need to. That front four on defense is outstanding. It's the league's best. And as we know, it all starts in the trenches. And I think that's where San Francisco is going to have a decided advantage in this game. And so, when you can clearly have an advantage on either one side of the line or the other, as San Francisco, I think, does over KC's offensive line, then I think we are in a situation where one team's going to have an advantage. However, I have been watching enough Super Bowls long enough to know this, that experience comes in big. Andy Reid's been to a Super Bowl before. And so, he can take that experience there with him. Neither one of these quarterbacks have really been in a Super Bowl before. We know Jimmy Garoppolo has, but he was holding the clipboard and sipping on Gatorade on the sidelines. Hasn't really played in a Super Bowl, so inexperience at that position. And so if you're looking at the head coaching position, and as I said, Andy Reid has played and he's coached in the Super Bowl before, and Kyle Shanahan has not. Kyle Shanahan does have his father, Mike Shanahan, who's been involved in a Super Bowl or two and can provide him with a good amount of support. And the biggest thing is in your preparation. That's one of the biggest things, whether it's a bowl game or it's a Super Bowl, having that extra week to prepare and how you're going to handle your team and the kind of schedule that you're going to keep is a big thing. And that's where I think Kyle Shanahan's father, Mike, is going to be able to help him quite a bit and maybe kind of even up things and let there not be such a big gap between the two coaches in terms of experience. So who do I think is going to win? If you asked me today, I would say I would kind of lean towards San Francisco, but ever so slightly. And, my opinion on that might change by the next time I get on a live here. But if you put a gun to my head today and ask me who I think is going to win this Super Bowl, I would say San Francisco, but I wouldn't be terribly confident of that. So, ask me again in a week. All right, let me answer a question or two here about playing defensive back. One of the questions that I've got this week was, how do I cover a tall receiver? It's a tall order to cover a tall receiver, and without exactly knowing what exactly the gap is in terms of your height versus the wide receiver's height. Are you 5'9" and the other guy's 6'4"? I'm going to tell you, you're going to have a tough time. Some of the things that could help you is if you're talking about a jump ball and you're running down the field with a guy that's significantly taller than you. One of the biggest things that you can do outside of having being very explosive in terms of being able to vertical jump is try to get into that tall wide receiver space. And so the image I want to give you is, if you're playing Madden, there's a circle around the Madden player that you're controlling. So if there's a circle around that wide receiver that you're covering, you want to get yourself inside of his circle before you go up. You don't want to jump as a guy that's, let's say, 5'10", going up against a 6'2", a 6'3" wide receiver. You don't want that wide receiver here and you here and you guys go up, all right? Because he's going to beat you probably every time. If he's worth a damn, if he has any type of jumping ability and you let him freely go up, he's comfortable in going up. He's, you're not anywhere close to him. He's going to beat you to that ball just about every time. But if that wide receiver is here and you can get inside his circle and go up with him through his body, now you're giving him something to be distracted by, to think about, and he can't have 100% of his focus on the ball. And also while you're doing that and that receiver's reaching up for the ball, you're trying to come up as he's coming down and get your hands through that ball. If you can, in fact, get both of your hands on the football as it comes in. Let's say that ball's too high, it's above the level of height that you're able to get to. Get in that wide receiver's circle. You're going up right into his body. You're going up with him. And as he catches that ball and he's trying to bring it down, you've got to take your hands and go through there if we're talking about a jump ball situation. So that's how you would cover a taller wide receiver. That's the best thing that I could tell you. The other thing I could tell you in terms of covering a taller wide receiver is this. Typically, a shorter defensive back versus a taller wide receiver. You, as the shorter defensive back, as the smaller player, are usually going to have quicker feet. So if that taller wide receiver is big and you're having a problem with him at the line of scrimmage because he's just bigger than you, he's bullying you, he's kind of, he's getting his hands on you and he's moving you out of the way. Best thing I could tell you is let's make use of the advantage that you have over him, which is quicker feet, and just play off. You know what I mean? Line up at 7-1. Whatever it is that your coach has you, it should be 7-1, whether that's inside or outside, depending on whatever the coverage is. Use that to your advantage. You have to use what's to your advantage when you're out there in the field. It's just that simple. It's like any other sport. If you're in there boxing and you're a power puncher against a guy that's a boxer and a jab, you got to get inside and use your power. So that's the same deal here. Use what you have to your advantage. And so your quicker feet are the advantage. Maybe you don't press as much. Maybe you play off. Sometimes taller wide receivers, bigger wide receivers have a hard time getting out of their breaks and you not so much getting out of your break. So you could probably get clean breaks on a taller wide receiver, as it takes more steps longer for him to come out of a break. You can get out of it faster, and now you can get yourself in better position when the ball is thrown to get to the football before the taller wide receiver. If you're up at the line pressing on a taller wide receiver all the time, and you end up with your back turned because he gets an outside release or he gets over the top of you, with that ball coming in and your back is turned and you're 4 or 5 inches shorter than the taller wide receiver and he's looking in at the ball, you're going to have yourself in a pretty bad position. Not only the fact that you're shorter than that guy, but the fact that your back is turned and his is not. He sees the ball coming in. He saw the ball thrown. He can track it all the way in, and you've got to turn around, judge a football, and also keep it away from a taller guy. So just play off more, stay over the top more, and you can, sometimes see the ball thrown, or you'll be running towards the ball rather than running away from the ball and the ball coming behind you. Stuff like that you can use. But if you're quicker, which you should be, if you're that much shorter than the receiver you're covering, you've got to use that to your advantage. So I hope that really helps you out. One of the recruiting questions that I've been getting is, how do I get more exposure? That's a common question. There's 3 things you need to do in the off season. First of all, you definitely need to do your work in the weight room and run. Don't neglect those things. I'm all for guys playing other sports. So if you're good at something else, go play that. It keeps you active. It teaches you how to be a teammate. And so go do that. If you're not involved in another sport to that level, it's not something, if you're getting to your sophomore, junior, senior year and football is going to be your thing, then yes, be in the off-season program, lift the weights and do the running. The second thing is you got to get out to camps, especially if you're a guy that plays a position. Let's say you're playing out of position. And I had a good discussion about this on both Instagram and Twitter this week. Sometimes in high school, you're playing a position that maybe is not the best position for you. You have to do this to help the team. So you're playing defensive end and you're, 180, 185, 190 pounds, but you're pretty fast getting off the line of scrimmage, and, left and right tackles aren't really able to block you. So you're able to disrupt a lot of plays on Friday night, and that's just where the team needs you. It is what it is. But at 180, 190 pounds, you're probably not going to be a defensive end at the next level. So how do you combat that? Yes, on Friday, on Fridays in the fall, my team needs me at defensive end. But now I can get out to camps in the off season, and I can go play my true position. That might be, linebacker, or it might even be safety, or, somewhere in the secondary. You can go to camps and you can go sign up and say you're a linebacker or you're a defensive back. And it's very important, if you've got a family member, if you've got someone that can go with you to these camps, and you can get video of you working out at these positions, you're just going to have to add that to your resume. And so you put that on your highlight video. Maybe you try and add that to your huddle. Or listen, if you're on the GridironStuds app, which you really should be if you're a high school football athlete, there's no reason for you. Every high school football player should be on the GridironStuds app. So on the GridironStuds app, you're able to add video from other sources. So you can put the video on Twitter, or you can have it on Vimeo if anyone still uses that. May even be Instagram. You just copy that link. You go inside the app, you scroll down the videos, you select YouTube, because that'll allow you to put a video in from these other sources. So the choices in the app are Huddle or YouTube. And you select YouTube and you just put in that link either to the video on Twitter or Instagram or Vimeo or one of these other sources, and you put that in there as well, and you allow college coaches to see you at a position where you are more recruitable. So one is do your off-season conditioning and weightlifting, so make sure you're in the best shape possible. Then you get out and you get exposure at these camps. And I'm not only talking about camps like Nike or Rivals 3 Stripes. Those camps you need an invite to. Maybe you didn't get an invite to that. Go to the combines. Go compete. If money's not an issue, time's not an issue, and you've got one near you, go compete in those things. Don't sit around and feel like, oh, I've got too much pride. They didn't invite me. Oh, man, I'm not going to go. Forget about all that. Okay, sometimes guys' pride gets in the way. Go to the combines. Go compete. Go run the 40. Go do those things. And at these combines, they allow you to scratch results. It's not something they've always done, but I know at the Nike combine, they allow you to scratch results. If you go run a 40-yard dash, find out for sure. Don't just take my word for it. Things change from year to year, but if they allow you to scratch results, then go compete in everything. If you don't like a result that you have, you can take that out of there. But go to the combine. If you do well at the combine, someone sees you there at the combine, you'll be invited to the camp, which is usually the next day. You get into the camp and you go compete there. But not only those camps. Listen, guys, if you're a player, you're a starter on varsity, and you're out there playing, and you know you're college worthy, college recruiters are going to come through during the spring, or maybe they came through during the fall and they showed some interest in you. You've got to go to those. You got to go to those college camps in the summertime. And they usually say this: if you can make it out to 5 camps during the summertime, or maybe even in the springtime, but usually summertime is when they have these camps. You can make it to these campuses. You go to 3 campuses that have shown some kind of interest in you, and then you choose 2 more that you would like to go to that maybe have not discovered you yet, have shown any interest. But definitely get to those camps at the schools that have shown some interest in you. You'd be crazy to shun those schools and those camps and not go there and chase all these schools that have not recruited you. Because if they end up not ever really being interested in you like that, I don't care what you think about those other schools right now. When it gets down to the end, like it is right now for the class of 2020, and this happens every year. It happened for a class of 2020, happened for the class of 2019. It's happened for 18. For as long as I've been doing this, there have been a group of kids that have decided, I'm too good for XYZ school. I'm too good for the group of 5. I'm too good for FCS. I'm too good for Division II. I should be going to Clemson, Michigan, Texas, State, all USC, Miami, all the marquee schools. They think that's where they should be going. And so they don't respond to DMs. They don't respond to emails. They don't send back the questionnaires. They don't pay attention to any of these guys when they come and show interest in them, and they go chase these big name schools, and those big name schools are just not interested enough into making a serious offer. And these guys got to go skating back to the D2 and FCS schools and group of 5 schools that showed interest. And those schools have moved on from you, and you're going to be left holding the bag. You're going to be sad. You're going to be upset. You're going to be posting all kind of angry tweets, and you're going to be upset about it. If a school shows you interest in the recruiting process, return that interest. You never know what's going to happen. Even if you think you're big time right now, you could go out and get yourself hurt in the off season, or you can get hurt in your senior year, and schools will just stop recruiting you. I said it today in one of my Instagram stories. An offer is not a scholarship. It's not. It's simply an offer, and an offer can change. An offer can be rescinded. It's an offer. There's nothing official about an offer that's given to you by a coach when he comes to your school, or a coach that tells you to camp, you have an offer from us. That's great. It just means they're interested in you. That could change. A week from now, it could change. They could have offered you because they really needed a defensive end, because they're striking out on everyone else, and then they get a phone call 3 days later from a guy that they thought they weren't going to get, who's now interested. You know what that means? You know what happens to your offer then if they're only going to take one defensive end? That offer is null and void. It's invalid. They're no longer interested in signing you. Try to commit, and it's not going to happen. So anytime a school offers you or shows interest in you, you got to show that interest back. Don't ever get on that high horse, because I've seen guys fall off. There are guys right now that are wrapped deep in their feelings over their recruiting process, and it stems from them blowing off some of these other schools. So far as how do you find camps around your area? Hey, there's this wonderful thing, guys. Someone that I listened to, a guy by the name of Gary V. I don't know if you guys listen to that. There's this wonderful thing that they have on the internet. It's crazy. It's this website. It's called, they spell it GOOGLE. It's wonderful. It gives you answers to everything. Just like YouTube gives you answers to everything. They can teach you how to tie your tie, how to cook, how to get a haircut, how to change a tire. Go to Google, all right? Check for camps in your area. Go to the Adidas 3-Stripe camp website. I think they have their tour dates up. Same thing for Nike opening. Go search it, see what's in your area. They may not have one in your actual city, but just see what's the closest one regionally. And again, if you have the means to get to that, let's say you're in Oklahoma and they're not going to have one in Oklahoma, but they've got one in Dallas and you can make it to Dallas, go to Dallas. You know what I mean? So go Google them, look them up, and try to get there. And then everywhere is different. Down here in South Florida, there's some local guys that have camps down here because they're into recruiting. And, Florida is one of those hotbeds. If you happen to be in an area like that, and there are local outfits that are that are into recruiting that do have camps, try to go to some of those. Or, consider going to national underclassmen. If you are a 9th or 10th grader, it's not a bad camp for you to go to. Teaches you how to compete. And you get to go up against other guys in your region that are in your age range, other 9th and 10th graders. You get an early look at your competition. Go to those things. But falling short of that, if you cannot, if you can't make it to one of these camps because they're simply too far away and you don't have the means, surely there's a 7-on-7 team in your area. Get on that. If you're a quarterback and your school runs the bear or they run the wing team, and you get to throw 6 or 7 times a game, and you really think you have the goods and you think you could be a college football quarterback, and you don't get a chance to display that. Same thing for your wide receivers on your team. Go get on a 7-on-7 team. And if your actual school doesn't have one and there's a local all-star 7-on-7 team around, go join that. Go display your wares that way. Go display your talent on a 7-on-7 team. They're not running the ball in 7-on-7. So if you want to show people that you can throw the ball and catch the ball, good thing for you to do is go join one of those 7-on-7 teams. Go to a few tournaments, show out, compete, and it's another opportunity for you to display to a college exactly what it is that you can do on the field. And again, if you've got parents or family members that are going with you, you appreciate their applause and support, have them turn on a camera and film you out there, because we're just a film society. So if you go jump over a guy and moss a guy, it's great to talk about it. It's even better to show someone on film, this is what I did. So that's what you'd have to do. Hey, Justin, you're in New York. I'm from New York myself. And New York's great for a lot of things. High school football is not. But if it's in New Jersey, man, get on a bridge, head over the water, go to New Jersey, go do those things. Listen, I had my son Marco, my younger son Marco, who's at Florida right now. He tore his ACL in high school, and he was not ready when the Nike opening tour came to Florida. He just wasn't quite ready yet. So we waited another 3 months, and you know which one of those things we went to? I took him up the road to New Jersey. We got the flight, hopped on, flew up to New York, and from New York drove over to New Jersey. They had it at the New York Jets facility, and he competed there, and he got himself to the opening from there. So you're close enough in New York City to go hop across to New Jersey, do what you got to do, beg, borrow, steal, and head over there and go compete over there, and just kind of see where you're at. Maybe you get invited to the opening, maybe you don't, but whatever the case may be, you get a chance to see what your competition is, who are the top guys in your area that you need to compete against, and you get to see the things you need to work on. Do I need to be faster? Do I need to be quicker? Do I need to be better, with my technique, and so on and so forth? The amount of stuff that you get out of going to these camps, outside of making the all camp team, the stuff that, guys worry about so much that they don't need to worry about. Man, let me tell you something. Once you get to college, or when your high school days are over, man, no one cares who got MVP at the Under Armour camp or the Rivals 3-Strike camp. No one really cares. I promise you. Don't get caught up in that. No one cares who was the most valuable linebacker at the North Carolina opening regional. No one cares. All right. 2-3 years later, no one cares about that. What you need to take out of that is the contacts that you're going to make, the new techniques you're going to learn, the competition you're going to go up against, and you finding out exactly where you are. So that's how that's going to go. So just a programming note. I'm going to have a new video coming up here soon, a new defensive back video. And listen, the stuff I put on YouTube is just really the basics. So if you're new to playing defensive back, or you just have no kind of coaching on it at all, I like to put the very basic stuff up here on YouTube, and it's free for anyone to see it. The more in-depth stuff, if you're trying to raise your game to a whole nother level, I have that stuff available in the All Eyes DB Camp members area. It's outstanding. The feedback I've been getting from members in the All Eyes DB Camp members area has been great. So I'm glad I'm able to help guys raise their game to another level. I'm also pleased to see college football defensive backs jumping in there as well as members. So we've got high school football players. I've got some of the top high school football players using it. I've got college football players using it. I've got a couple of college coaches using it. How about that? I appreciate that. And then quite a few high school